So back in the days of the dial-up and telnet bulletin board system, or BBSs, one game stood out as probably the ultimate kind of online multiplayer role-playing game. And it wasn't a graphical game, although there was a technology, I guess, called rip script graphics or something like that had like VGA graphics overlays and stuff, and maybe like mouse point and click buttons, and I think sound effects. For the most part, it was just like what you see here, just a menu system where you know, these highlighted keys actually just you press them to play. So F for force, you go into the force to fight, and yeah, you go to the weapon, center, and then if you want to get healed, you're the bank, and you can write mail to your other players, and the other places were like third-party apps could put these other like little adventures and added features into the game. So you would get so many turns every day to play, and I guess one of its biggest features was the player versus player PvP. So people would level up as fast as they can and try to knock everybody off their throne, get their money and stuff like that, and try to kill the dragon once you hit a certain level. There were several other games, in the vein of this, kind of medieval RPGs. Use the same kind of, battle system and everything. And some of them probably came before Lord or Legend of the Red Dragon, and plenty came after it, but none had the success of this game. I mean, this went from dial-up to telnet bulletin boards, and then it crossed over to like major BBS and world group bulletin boards, which are very expensive. They had to reprogram everything. It went from a door game, which was compatible with like pretty much all of MS-DOS bulletin boards, to this kind of like whatever C or whatever based like database style bulletin board. MBBS and World Group, as I said, you had to have a lot of money to buy nodes for this, as a system operator. So it just expanded to pretty much every BBS you could think of had this, and there are probably hundreds of games that never crossed over to that major BBS and World Group league. Many of us would log on to 5 or 8 or 10 or 15 different bulletin boards just to play our turns in Lord and Baron Realms Elite and other games like that. Blade Master, Exatilis, Usurper. So one day, back in the the BBS days, the telnet BBS days, I logged onto a bulletin board. I think it was called Lost Gonzo BBS, run by system operator Mr. Brad. So one of the things I noticed throughout the years of playing Lord was that if you are on the offensive, you seem to not have the advantage versus being on the defensive as far as PvP, player versus player. So I decided to not level my character up all the way. And I don't remember if it was like level 8 or whatever I stopped at. You didn't have to level your character up. You could play your turns, you could get your gems or whatever, and you could actually level up your stats. So, as an experiment, I did that for, a few weeks. And of course, as I was this level 8 or whatever character, everybody else surpassed me. They were attacking me every day, killing me. And then all of a sudden, my stats got so high that because it gives you a slight advantage to the defensive side, when you're being attacked you have a slight advantage. Having this also the stat advantage at this lower level, I started killing every single person that attacked me. I was invincible, and people started saying that I was cheating. I didn't have to attack any single person, and if I did the attack myself, I may have died, but since I was playing 100% defensive, since I spent so much time leveling up my stats, considered myself, just an experienced but average player of the game, which most people were. And but some people are also serious about playing it, logging in just like I was. And I had enough of the kind of the straightforward gameplay style. It's a very straightforward game. You just you could go in there and you do your rounds and you leave. It can take 5 minutes, a day or whatever. But I decided to play it, to experiment, to use a different strategy, change things up, and it worked. I went from an average player to the best player of the game just by sacrificing, getting whipped every day for a few weeks, just by making that sacrifice and trying it a different way. So all of these players started, messaging and emailing or whatever, chatting with the system operator and saying, there's no way this level 6 or 8 character can defeat me. He has to be cheating. He has to have a way to cheat. Did you give him some kind of system operator powers, or did you edit his character or something? What's wrong with this picture here? But that never happened. I don't think I ever talked to that system operator, Mr. Brad, at all. At least at that time, maybe a few years later, and they convinced him to reset the game. And by that time, I decided that I did not want to repeat the game, just going that one game, making the rounds, making everybody upset with me by not attacking them and just letting them attack me. It obviously put a target on myself, so most likely it would have been a little bit harder on the next game to accomplish what I did, but I would have been able to do it. Just I didn't want to have to start all over and do it again. But that's pretty much my story. Yep, that was the great Lord Scandal back in the day of the telnet BBS days.